Hello everyone, welcome to the UX Design webinar with UX Academy. I hope you guys are all having a great day so far. We're gonna have a great time today. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. My name is Adrian and I'm the Head of Growth and Partnerships at UX Academy. Today, we're gonna give you an overview into UX design. What is UX design? You're gonna learn a bit more about the different paths into UX design. You're going to learn more about the careers you can have, different techniques, processes, strategies, and also you're going to learn a bit more about what UX Academy has to offer regarding UX design as well. We do have a little surprise for you as well. So one of our students, one of our past students is going to do a little presentation. So I hope you guys all enjoy that. And without further ado, let's get going. Right, before we get into the main body of the presentation, I want to share a little bit about who UX Academy is. So UX Academy is a team of enthusiasts, technologists, entrepreneurs, and so on and so forth. And we do UX, UI, design courses live, online, and in person, and in London. We've been running for over 3 years now, and UX design was set up on the back of Mobile UX London, which is an events company which delivers the best practice in UX design. Now, there was a demand and there was a desire to upskill and deliver training to the community of UXers. So as a result, UX Academy was born in order to meet this need and this demand. Okay, so if you're looking to study with UX Academy, I know there's other companies who do UX training. Why should you choose UX Academy? Well, there's 4 main reasons why. So the first main reason is you get to work on real project work. So every student that enrolls into UX Academy will have the opportunity to get involved in a real life company project. So you can work with a travel company, you can work with a tech company, a car finance company, you can work with a dating app, which is one of the projects that one of our last students worked on. You can work in almost any industry. So you get to work on real life company projects so that you can take that real life company experience to your next job, okay? The other reason is live UX teaching. So this isn't a pre-recorded video course that you can get from online. This is live training that you can get from UX Academy. So we have 2 trainers who have at least 7+ years experience in the industry, and you're definitely gonna be in good hands with UX Academy. Another reason is UX Design Mentorship. So this is something that we introduced since we moved all of our courses online. So each student that enrolls into UX Academy is going to get the access to mentorship on a weekly basis, which is going to be held by one of our instructors who's going to give you, support regards to any projects you have, to support you in your career, UX life, and maybe to help you overcome any challenges or obstacles that you're having in your real life project during the course. And of course, our trainers are experienced, so you're going to get a whole lot of experience from our trainers who are going to help you in your UX journey. Okay, so our students come from top companies around the world. I'm sure you can recognize some of the names on the screen, such as Microsoft, Deloitte, Amazon, Canon, Just Eat, and so much more. So we've had students that have graduated and gone on to work for these companies, or we've had students that have come from these top companies and studied with UX Academy. Either way, it's great to know that UX Academy is affiliated with big brands, and so can you. Okay, so if you come onto the UX Academy UX design course, what tools can you expect to use? So we have Slack for team communication. So this enables you to communicate with the students, communicate with your teams, keep up with what's happening in the lessons, keep up with your instructors, your clients, etc. You also have Google Drive, which is the online cloud file sharing platform that we use to share learning resources. You also have Figma, which is a prototyping tool that we use, which is available for both Mac and PC. We also use Zoom for online training. We use Miro for online whiteboarding. And there's also Envision, which is a digital product design platform, which we also use as well, which you can use as well if you feel like you want to. Okay, so who can get involved in UX Academy? Pretty much, honestly, anyone can get involved. So whether you're a product designer, a visual designer, freelance designer, software developer, psychologist even, if you're working in customer experience, that's a great background for UX design. If you're really keen and you're really infused about UX design, this is definitely the course for you. Or if you're completely new and you're novice, you have no idea what UX design is, this course is built for someone like you to go from having no knowledge to being job ready in 8 weeks. How about that? Okay, so here's some testimonies that you can see from some of our students. So Bond here says, I'm very happy about taking the UX beginners course. I must mention Adrian, who's been a great support right from the beginning and throughout. The course instructors, Stratis and Julia, make you feel very welcome. Nothing is ever too much trouble for them. Everyone at UX Academy wants you to succeed. I would recommend anyone that wants to learn about the UX to contact any staff member, ask questions, and even attend the free webinars they have. It has been a welcome distraction during the lockdown. I hope we can all meet up one person in one day. So this is Bond Wong. So this is one of our students who took part in the course during lockdown. And you know, this is a student who's actually still in touch with me today. And recently he got to meet up with the other students who he was studying with, which is fantastic. So lots of opportunities for you at UX Academy. And of course, you can read more testimonials by visiting this link or go into our website. Okay, so these are two trainers who one of them you're going to see very shortly. So on the left, you're going to see Stratis. So he is the UX design lead at Conde Nast. If you know the brands Vogue, GQ magazine, and so on and so forth, these are the guys behind it. So Stratis has worked at startups, agencies, and international organizations around the world. So he's very well experienced. And we also have Julia as well, who is another trainer in the course. And she's worked with the likes of Meljet and Net-a-Porter, who also has 7+ years experience in the industry. Okay, so the part you guys have all been waiting for, before I hand over to Stratis and bring him on board, just to remind you, if you are interested in enrolling into the Beginners UX Design course, this is a link that you can visit. So you can visit www.myuxacademy.com/enroll. And you just pop in the code workshop12 and you will be able to bag yourself a sweet little discount on the course. Now, you will notice that it will take off a fraction of the deposit, but don't worry, we'll apply the rest of the discounts once you make the second payment for the course. Okay, so without further ado, I'm going to add Stratis to the stream. Hey, Stratis.
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Adrian.
How you doing?
Yeah, not bad.
Excellent, excellent. Welcome, everyone. So Stratis, whenever you're ready, you can share your screen and we will get straight to it.
Yep. So let me, sorry, there was a technical issue. Let me do it now. Share screen. So let me know if you can see it. Can you see my screen, Adrian?
Yeah, I can see your screen.
And the slide.
All right. Yeah, I can see it. Okay, Stratis, take it away.
Cool, thank you. So yeah, my name is Stratis. I'm the UX design lead at Conde Nast. We have brands, as Adrian mentioned, like Vogue, Wired, GQ, Conde Nast Traveler. And I have 10 years of experience in the industry. I've worked in the US, I've worked in Europe. And I'm very excited to be teaching you and help you get into the world of UX design. And let's start talking a little bit about UX. So it's good to start with defining some basic terms around UX, like what is UX design, and also talking about some processes of how designers work, and also about the course, like what are you going to do with UX Academy, what are you going to learn, and what kind of paths you're going to follow afterwards. So let's begin. What is UX design? It's the question of the day. So to answer that question, we need to begin with answering the question, what is user experience? So user experience is the outcome of a user interacting with an artifact. That's the definition we use. everything you interact with in your day-to-day life leaves an impression on you. When you use an app, you go to a restaurant, you drive your car. So that impression, that interaction with the artifact creates, is user experience, and that can be intentional. It can be a result of design, or it can be random, and it can be good. It can create a good impression. It can make you happy. It can help you achieve your goals, or it can frustrate you. So that's user experience. And user experience design is defining what kind of impression an interaction would have between the user and the artifact, is defining how that user experience should be. What impression would it leave to people? So good UX design is designed based on user needs, understanding of who the user is, how they behave, what they need to achieve, and the context in which they're on, and also psychology, behavioral principles. So by using those three things, we can design a good user experience. So yeah, user experience is the impression, and UX design is defining what that impression should be like. Here's a graph that visualizes that, makes it a little bit more clear. An artifact, which can be a screen, but it can be anything else. It doesn't have to be a screen, although most UX design jobs in the market at the moment are focused on digital. And you see the user, and every time the user interacts with it, it creates an impression to their mind. They're happy, they're frustrated, and that creates the experience. And that's very important for companies, because if users are not happy, we don't achieve what they came to the channel of the company to achieve, then the company would lose money. And also, it's also the right thing to do from a moral standpoint. And you can apply UX design principles and processes to define experiences for many different channels. You can work from connected cars, in which you can focus on, say, the purely digital part of it, which is the screen that the driver would see, and trying to find the easiest way to communicate key information about the car to the user while they're driving, and while also making sure that they're not going to get in trouble, or they're not going to get in any accidents by doing that. And that's where the magic is, defining what's the right amount, the minimum viable amount of information that you need to convey, and what way you're going to present it in order to make the user knowledgeable, but at the same time allow them to have their attention where it matters, the road. It can also be on augmented reality and virtual reality products and experiences, which we call very often, the one that you see here, we call it multimodal. So modalities are modes of sensory input, so touch, speech, voice. So we're gradually moving towards a world in which we're going to be using a lot of those modalities to achieve goals in our day-to-day lives. We're going to be using our voice if we want to get a quick definition, or to play music from our devices. And we might use also direct manipulation to move things around, to say, even when we're using a design tool, when we're using, say we're writing a document, we're tapping on the letters and we're using direct manipulation. So the world is going to be moving towards a place that will use all of those things. And a great example is Amazon Fire TV, in which you use your voice language to, say, search for horror movies, because that's a lot easier than actually using that annoying remote control and hovering over every letter and tapping it over the letter you want. You use voice, but then when the horror movies and the list of the theme of movies that you asked for appear, then it's faster to use direct manipulation, to use the remote to skim through different movies and see the visuals. So as the industry is evolving towards a place, as a UX designer, you will have on your toolbox the opportunity to play with a lot of different modalities. And even you can you can have projects like Peloton that they have a mix of physical product with digital. And in those cases, you will have to think about how the digital experience of the screen works with the physical artifact. And also, what's really important in this and in every other experience, but here it becomes a lot more obvious, is taking into account the context, where the user is going to be using your product, when, what they're going to be doing before, and what they're going to be doing after. And all those things are very important in order to design a good user experience. So how do UX designers work? You're going to have time to ask some questions at the end. Usually, UX designers research, ideate, and test. And again, the gist of UX design is understanding who the users are, and what are they trying to achieve, right? What are they trying to achieve, and also what are they doing currently to achieve that? What are the steps they take to achieve it? And to do that, you need to do research, right? You need to conduct interviews, run surveys, talk to the users to understand what they want to do and what are they doing to achieve it. And once you understand that, then you can ideate and design ways in which you can make the journey to achieve that goal that user has easier. So, and that's how innovation happens. I mean, that's why Netflix disrupted Blockbuster. You know, they understood that people wanted to watch movies and they also wanted variety, but they broke down the steps that they were doing to achieve that, and they found out that the steps of having to get out of the house, go to the Blockbuster, making that effort was not desirable. There was opportunity for improvement, so they created another journey in which the steps were significantly diminished, and they can happen from the comfort of their home. And that's why everybody now is part of the reason everybody's watching Netflix, and Blockbuster is not around anymore. So that's what we need to ideate. Users always go into the path of least resistance. So by understanding what they're trying to achieve and how they do it, we can ideate and find ways to allow them to achieve their goals easier. And then, of course, the last part, which is evaluating your designs. So when you prototype something, when you create something to allow users to achieve their goals, you would have to test it, see how people use it, where they fail, where they succeed, what they like, what they don't like about it, and optimize it to create a good user experience. So when you research, this is an example of an artifact you can produce. It's called a customer journey map, in which you visualize what people do over time and across multiple channels and the different phases. So in this example, this person is going through an inquiry, comparison of different products, purchase, and then installation. And then for each of the phase, you're trying to understand what's important to them, what they do, and what needs are met well, and what pain points they have. Pain points are things that are not met well, and they're frustrated. For example, when you're trying to make a claim and there is a long delay on the phone, and that's a pain point, and that's something that you can make it easier, but perhaps having a digital experience, a digital form to allow for quicker results and quicker communication with the company that you want to claim, and so on and so forth. So this is a customer journey map, and this is informed by research. So after you understand that, the opportunities for improving the journey and the user experience become a lot more obvious. And then after you have the understanding, the UX designers go and they have a lot of activities with different stakeholders of different functions, from developers to business analysts to product managers, from people from marketing, QA testers. Everyone comes together and they have a unique perspective to bring into the table. So the UX designer, even though they're ultimately responsible for the experience, they need to work with all those people, get their input and their expertise, and design something that meets the needs of the users, it also meets the needs of the business, and it's achievable and feasible given the constraints of a product. So users are number one, but what you do also will need to fit within different constraints, which those are the business needs and what is doable given the context you're on, what team you have, what milestone the company has. And this is actually a great experience because for you as well, because creativity is great, but it's even greater when you have to do it within constraints. If you have a blank canvas and you can do anything you can, it's a lot easier. But trying to be creative given the constraints of where you are gives you more satisfaction. It's an interesting intellectual challenge to solve. So yeah, UX design is a teamwork. So you need to work with all those different disciplines in order to arrive to a great result. And of course, depend as if you are a full stack UX designer, it would also your journey will involve conducting user interviews, doing user testing, evaluating, as we mentioned before, your prototypes with users, seeing what they like and what they don't like. This is an actual great experience of, it's so very often designers think that when they design something, it would work well, but it's a humbling experience to see users using your prototype or trying to use it. And more often than not, the first time you test, it would also have lots of issues, and there's always opportunity to optimize. So this interaction with the user is not only very important, but it's also very delightful for the designer because you can empathize. And once you get it right, it feels really good to see people actually benefiting from the things that you made. So we talked about what UX design is and what the process is, and let's now talk a little bit about your journey with UX Academy. So throughout the journey of UX Academy, we're going to take you, I'm going to give you a client brief for an actual company, and you're going to have 8 weeks, and in each of the weeks, during the classes, we're going to be giving you theory, and then as homework, you're going to be working with your teams to progress the project for the real client. So at the end, you're going to present to them, deliver the designs and the insights from the research, and there's a good chance that the client will implement it and build it on their website, their app, whatever the client has. And that's really great because you can actually measure the impact that your designs will have. So that might not happen immediately after the course, it might not happen at all, but if you do a good job, and you maintain a relationship with the client, there's this great opportunity that your designs will go live, and then you will see the real impact in the real world. So at a glance, how the course would work. On the first week, we talk about the intro to UX design. We go a little bit more in depth on the principles, the tools, what it means, how we work. And the second week, we get into teams, we get briefs, and we get best practices for how to conduct discovery research. This is where we talked about how we need to understand in the beginning what the users are trying to achieve and how they're trying to achieve it, so we can make the journey better, their experience easier. On week 3, we ideate of ways to do it easier. On week 4, Julia, the other instructor, will come in and will help you do some mapping to visualize the experience you want to design, how that would look like, and wireframing, how would the actual prototype that the user would use look like. Then on week 5, you will take those designs and actually make them into a prototype that users can interact with. Week 6 would be user testing, putting it in front of users, seeing where they fail and where they succeed. Week 7 would be iterating based on the insights, based on the learnings that you get from those sessions. And then week 8, I'll come back and I'll help you with your project presentations and give you tips about the industry, how to get your first UX job, and what hiring managers like me are looking for in CVs and portfolios, and lots of other tips within that area. So it's a great full, very comprehensive course, because you're going to get all the theory you need to get an entry-level job, because you're going to also have an actual client project on your CV, and because you're going to have a very close relationship with 2 very senior professionals like me and Julia, access to our network, to our insights from working in the industry for such a long time. So I think that it's going to be, people are very happy, but you need to make the most of it. You need to be committed and work hard. But if you work hard, there is a potential for a lot of great benefit and for you to get your first job very easily after the course. So this is the type of process that we are teaching is the double diamond method, which, as I mentioned before, we start by understanding with discovery. Then we go into defining what the problem is for the users and what the goal is and what is not working that well or could be improved at the moment. And that's a very important part, because you need to make sure, a big part of the UX design is you need to make sure you're solving the right problem. If you're not solving the right problem, it doesn't matter what good of a job you do. It's better to solve the right problem in a less good way than solve the wrong problem in a perfect way. So that's something that is very important. That one of the most important things in the process. And then it's the develop, the ideation, the delivery, the fleshing out of the prototype and designs, and then of course delivering and the presentation to the client. So this is the high level process and mindset that we're going to be teaching you. Of course, it's worth mentioning that every process, those are just principles. Every process will need to be adapted in the unique needs of the context of the client, of the team that you're in. But those are core principles that will help you in any of those environments. So a little bit more detail about the course. And every week we're going to have knowledge through the class, like theory. We're going to have training, project activities, and fun work to do for the next week. And also there's going to be mentorship, which is every week you're going to have the ability to book a 30-minute session with a mentor, which is not going to be me or Julia, probably, and another senior professional in UX from the industry who's going to be listening to your thoughts, seeing how well you have progressed, giving you advice and supporting you with your case studies, so that you come to every class prepared with full clarity of the previous material that was covered, and with confidence that you are ready to go to the next step. So this 30-minute group mentorship every week has been really successful, and our students have been loving it so far. This is going to be the fourth time that we're going to be running it, and that's another opportunity for you to make connections in the industry and learn from another very senior professional. So yeah, I think the tools we use would be Figma, Miro, which is a digital whiteboarding tool. We use Slack and Google Drive, Zoom, and InVision. But of course, the tools, and what I say to the students in the class, don't really matter. Tools change all the time. So even though now Figma is very popular, in 3 years it might be something else. What's more important is your mindset, your theory, and your methods, and then the tools are just there to enable you to apply that theory and methods, and they can change all the time. But just for you to know, because I know there's a lot of interest in tools, this is what we're going to be using. So I think it's time to pass it over to one of our students who's going to talk about some of the recent work they did. So let me mute myself, and I will speak again later in the Q&A.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Stratis, for taking us through a short presentation on UX design. I'm now going to bring on one of our students, Sam. How's it going, Sam?
Good, thanks. You guys?
Yeah, we're doing awesome. We're doing great. So Sam is one of our recent graduates from the UX Design Beginner course, and she's going to share a little bit information about, why she chose the course, what she learned from it, and, what she's looking to do next. And yeah, hopefully share some of her work with yourself. So hopefully you guys like this part of the presentation. So take it away, Sam.
Okay. So hi guys, my name's Sam. Just a brief introduction about myself and why I chose the course. So I'm currently a marketing executive for Air France, KLM, UK and Ireland. The reason why I've changed to UX is because at the moment, if to be honest, the airline industry is not working that well. And I've kind of thought what the next steps are of my career. So I searched for, I suppose, UX courses, and I thought this was the best step in terms of next career move. So yeah, I suppose for me, I'm just going to give an introduction in terms of what I did for the project, and also, I suppose, the team and outcomes of the project. Has the presentation come up at all? Does it come up? Can you see it now? Cool. So yeah, I've done Blue Pass. So I'll give a quick, I suppose.
Yeah. So,
is that all right? Is it working?
So if you just, so it looks great, Sam. Just needs to full screen it so everyone can see.
Okay.
Yeah, and then hit the full screen button.
Yeah. Can you see it now?
Yeah, excellent. And then maybe that's
Cool.
awesome. Take it away.
So just give, I suppose, introduction in terms of what we did for the project. So insights from discovery research, walk through of ideation process, and samples of the design artifacts. So I'll give you a brief introduction to what Blue Pass is. So Blue Pass is a mobile app that connects NHS staff with companies providing discounts specifically for them. So if it's either tech, food, various sort of discounts. The target market is mostly aimed at NHS staff, but particularly doctors, nurses, and ambulance drivers. So the project brief from the client was basically the app currently doesn't offer the best user experience of Flow. Basically, it took too long. Users aren't, I suppose, staying on the app that long. So it also lacks a user activation or discounts and sharing them. So the key metrics included improving user engagement with the app and sharing of discounts. So I suppose before going into like user research, we did a competitor analysis, understanding what's available on the market. So at the moment, the key competitor is Blue Light, which is specifically aimed at emergency service staff. Looking at, I suppose, an indirect discount competitor, which is NHS staff benefits, and looking at uni days, but uni days is more in terms of understanding the structure of the app itself. So we worked in a team of 3, so conducting 2 user interviews each. So basically it took about half an hour to 45 minutes, interviewing NHS staff ranging from ambulance drivers, physiotherapists, and back office staff. So it was just asking general questions in terms of understanding how long they worked for the NHS, have they heard of any general discount apps in general, and looking at if they actually have heard of any specific NHS staff discount apps. And then it sort of went on to understanding, okay, then give them the Blue Pass app as it currently is, and actually asking them, okay, then what do you think of the app, and understanding a bit more detail. So it's taking theory that we learned from class into practice. So key quotes when we did the research was we found the homepage quite confusing. In terms of relating back to what the client wants, people were kind of wanting to share with friends and family through WhatsApp or call. And they actually found the process quite long to find the discounts. So that was kind of our basis for the research and the project. So from that, we sort of created our own user persona in terms of how we're going to redesign the app and the rationale behind it. So our persona was a person called Cameron, who is an ambulance driver. And the scenario is he's been recommended the app by colleagues and is looking to use the app for the first time. And just general user expectations is that he wants to save money, but wants the process to be easy and simple due to time restrictions. He's going to use it on an ad hoc basis, but at the same time, he wants to feel engaged throughout the process and be able to share with friends and family. So that's our basic, I suppose, user research on that and what we found out. From a statement from the research, so we all created how might be statement, and in the end, it was focused on how to improve the introduction to the app. So improving the onboard process, creating sign-in, making it easier for the user, improve discount visibility, and social media integration. Again, that was key, a rationale against what the client wanted. I'll just go a brief overview in terms of, so we did a customer journey map, taking all the research and sort of understanding what part would each team member take in terms of creating design artifacts and what the key points that we're trying to create for the project. Again, just design artifacts. So we as a team, we sort of took, when we did wireframings, we all, I suppose, took a couple of days just to create low fidelity wireframes, understanding, okay, what are the key points that we're trying to get across to the client, what kind of things we need to change, and just basically have, I suppose, a rough idea of what we want to do before we move on to the high fidelity frames. So I should say that should be final design rather than first design. So we took the sign up login page. Sorry, just go back one. We all took, I suppose, a section of what we want to do for the project. So one of us took the sign up page, one of us took the home page, another took the discounts itself, and the sharing and favorites page as well. So these are just a brief redesign in terms of what we've taken from what the user wanted. And so, for example, making it cleaner and easier for the user to sign in and log in, creating it easier to find certain discounts. The offers page has been slightly changed in terms of making it easier to understand what the offers are, categories, and making the information easier to read as well. So it keeps users engaged. They can just quickly find the information itself. Oops, sorry. And the final, I suppose the final design was about favorites and sharing. This is kind of a key point for the client. So sharing, integrating social media, favorites as well, integrating that, making it more easier for people to view it. So these are the recommendations that were delivered to the client. We had a meeting with the client last week. It was a 15-minute presentation just to go over our recommendations and changes. So, for example, simplifying the onboarding process, creating tiles-based homepage, stacking offers, reducing text and balancing with more images, and promoting via social media. I suppose the next steps that we took on board with the client is they're going to use what we've, I suppose, suggested. So waiting for a couple of weeks to get feedback from the project. And I think that's everything on that. Yeah, that's everything. So I'll stop sharing my screen.
Great. Thanks, Sam, for sharing a bit about your UX journey. And everyone, you can read about Sam's UX experience on the UX Academy website. Sam, thanks again for coming on.
That's all right. Thank you.
Cheers. Okay, so now we are back and it's time for Q&A. This is one of our favorite times. So this is the time for you guys to get in your questions. I know you already have some questions and we will start taking them. So bring up your questions and we will start going. So just gonna bring up the first question. So Madeline asks, what do you mean by saying full stack designer? Stratus, I'll hand the question over to you.
Designer. So depending on where you work and how mature the UX department is an organization, you might have to work as a full stack UX designer, which means that you will have to deal with the entire process from research to end design. In other places, you might see specializations. You might see people focusing on user research and do only that, and UX designers working on the interactions and how that maps to user needs, and thinking about journeys, and then having visual designers that work about the aesthetics, and they're more like graphic designers. So it really depends on where you work at. But when I use the term full stack UX designer, I mostly talked about somebody who does both user research and interaction design.
Okay.
But at different companies.
All right. Okay. Well, thank you, Stratus, for answering that question. We're going to move on to the next one. Okay. So Federica asks, so a UX designer conducts UX research as well. Shouldn't those be a different profile?
I think I answered that with my previous question. Yeah, it depends on the company you're in. There are many companies that have a UX research specialization. Other ones that the UX designer will do both. In this course is a UX beginners course. So we're going to be teaching you skills of both in research and design. So then you can see what you like the most and then make a decision on which path you want to go. Do you want to go somewhere and be full stack? Do you want to specialize from the beginning into research or into design? It will be up to you. But in this course, you will get skills across the board.
Okay, thank you, Stratus. I'm going to move on to the next one. This is a very popular question. How does UX design articulate with product design? I'll take this one. So in short, Thomas, if you go on our website, we have an article called UX design versus product design that I've written. Feel free to go on there. I will share the link later on after the presentation. That will basically give you a good answer to that question. Okay, moving on to the next one. So Brain asks, how long is each week's session and how many hours roughly are required outside the class time? Again, this is a question I'll quickly ask. So essentially, you're looking to expect to spend 2.5 hours per week on the lessons, okay? But what's expected outside of the lessons is probably at least 3 to 4 hours you'll be spending on your project work. And then also you'll have a half an hour slot for mentorship during the week. So on average, at least 7 hours a week when you combine everything of UX Academy. Okay, we're going to keep it moving to the next question. Okay, and Frederica asks, on that regard, how are the classes scheduled? It's great to have live sessions, but several prospective students are also employed. Okay, so in terms of this question, so the classes are scheduled weekly, so they're live online classes. So the classes consist of live presentations, live workshops, and live dialogue between the instructors and the students. And also what happens is outside the lessons, as I mentioned before, there is real life project work and there's also mentorship. Okay, let's move on to another question. This is a good question from Marta Stratis. Marta asks, does a UX designer usually work on the whole cycle, or are research and design usually conducted by different people?
Yeah, that's a similar question to the previous ones, but I can say that even if you are a UX designer in a company that has UX researchers, you need to work very closely with the UX researchers throughout the cycle. So when you do discovery research, you will be observing the user interviews, helping with notes, and trying to also understand what the users need and what the goals are, what their experiences at the moment. It's very important that you are exposed to that as early as possible, even if you're not conducting the research. So yeah, the UX designer should be across the life cycle of a project, irrespectively of whether or not they're the ones who will be conducting the research.
Thank you, Stratis. Okay, next question we have is from Siam. I believe I pronounced your name correctly. She asks, what is the difference between a UI designer and a UX designer?
So UI designers are mostly concerned about the visual elements on the page, the forms, the buttons, how everything is tied together, while a UX designer is more interested in behavioral psychology and also in the interactions and sequence of interactions. So one is how things look, the other one is how things work. And to define how things work, you need to think, as I mentioned before, what is the user trying to achieve? What are the steps that they're doing to achieve it? That can be on a screen on a website, but it can be outside of that as well. And then designing those journeys, those flows, which can sometimes include UI elements, but you don't go into very high fidelity, like making it pretty, deciding the colors, and you just go up to the point in which you define what the structure is and how the user will interact with where would they click, so on and so forth, in order to achieve the goal. But yeah, as a rule of thumb, one is how it looks mostly, the other one is how it works, and also includes journeys instead of just the static moments in time in which you design the screen. But of course, sometimes there's a little bit of overlap. So a UX designer might do some UI design work, and a UI designer who has a good understanding of UX can create user journeys. So there's not, again, it depends on what kind of role you find in which company and how that company defines the different disciplines.
Thank you. Okay, next question. We have a question from Frog Legs Fried, interesting YouTube channel. What are the other roles one can do in UX besides design and research?
There's, besides UX design and research, there's also something called service design, which is more like UX design, thinking again about the journey. But not having to deal with visual deliverables. So if a service designer would think, for example, how now with Brexit, like there was a service that people had to apply for a permanent residency or a short-term residency. So all that service end to end, how the citizen would become aware of that, where would they go, and what are the steps that they would do to achieve their goal without going into the screens and the nitty-gritty of the interactions. But overall, as a service, that's what a service designer would have to deal with. So the UX designer, but with no visuals. So that's one other role. And of course, there's also UX strategists, which sometimes this kind of work is done by the UX designers, which is just understanding what the user needs are and planning what, projecting, thinking of what the future could look like and how you could win in that future, which also includes a little bit of like business thinking into that. So I would say, yeah, UX strategists, which have a little bit more business thinking, and service designers, who are like UX designers, but deal with services and not visual deliverables.
Thank you, Stratus. That was a very thorough answer. Okay, the next question, this is a good one. Oksana asks, what is the most essential skills you need to develop to be a good UX designer?
Yeah, well, there are a lot of skills you need to develop. I guess the most essential ones are you need to understand behavioral psychology really well, to read a lot about how users think, how they behave, and know best practices on that. Because, of course, we do user research to evaluate, to understand our users, but there are a lot of things, there are a lot of research out there on how users scan the page or where their attention rests, on how they're likely to interact with certain elements, what they can find frustrating or not. So it's very important to be knowledgeable and interested in behavioral psychology. That's one thing. And the other thing is to be curious. You need to be very curious to drill down, and even if you're not conducting your own research, to understand what really is the problem. What is the user really trying to achieve? What is really the thing it might not go that well, or that might have an opportunity to be improved, and what's the best way for you to solve it? So you need to be curious to try things, test with users, and don't be too tied to your design decisions, and be happy to iterate based on the feedback you have. So you need to be very curious. So interested in behavioral psychology, be very curious. And also the third thing I would say would be to be a great team player, because UX design is a team sport. You will need to work with a lot of different stakeholders. If you work in silos, nobody's going to implement your designs, and nobody's going to empower you or help you to get them out there, even if they're great. So you need to be a great team player. So yeah, those three things: behavioral psychology, curiosity, and being a great team player.
Thanks, Stratus. That was a really good answer. Just to mention, guys, we don't have a lot of time to take everyone's questions, but if you want to get in touch, feel free to drop me an email, adrian@myuxacademy.com. If you have any questions that we haven't been able to take, feel free to drop me an email or get in touch with UX Academy, and we'll see what we can do to help. Okay, into the next one. Another question from Tara, and she asks, what sort of coding knowledge would be helpful to know, if any? You don't really need coding knowledge, do you, Stratus? It helps, but you don't really need it.
Yeah, it helps because you're going to have educated conversations with developers, and you can have an understanding of the feasibility and how realistic are the things you're designing. Because you can go, if you have no knowledge at all of how technology works, it's kind of hard, because you might just do things that are totally impossible to, or require a lot of effort to do. So yeah, it's just useful to know the basics of how technology works more than coding, so that you make designs that are pragmatic. Now, coding, it helps a bit as well, because you can have informed conversations, but it's not a requirement at all.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, I'm going to move on quickly. Frogs Legs Fried's back again. What else would a person need to learn if they are looking into user experience for VR, AR? Some overlaps.
So yeah, with AR and VR, usually because there's another dimension that gets introduced, which is the third dimension. usually it's good to have some background in 3D modeling, 3D design, and if you want to be somebody who prototypes in this area. So if you want to be somebody who makes, who designs things, you need to understand 3D and upskill in 3D design. Having said that, if you just are purely interested in research, as a UX researcher, you don't need to do anything on that case. You will just need to get a job on the field and get read about it as well, and upskill, and you can apply the method. So yeah, for research, you can apply the research method into anything. If you want to be a designer in that field, it's helpful to understand 3D.
Thank you, Stratus. Okay, on the subject of research, I think you can quickly just answer this. Marta asked if we're most interested in the research aspect, do you have courses that are specific to that? So, I mean, this is covered in the beginner's course, isn't it? We do cover research.
Yeah, we cover a lot of research, both discovery and evaluative research throughout the process. So you're going to get all the skills you need to get an entry-level job, either as a UX designer, or as a junior UX designer, or as a junior UX researcher. You're going to get all the methods and theory you need.
Thank you. And Mustafa asks, how ready will someone who takes this course be to get in their first job as a UX designer? So Mustafa, this course is designed to get you your first job, to get you from having little or no experience in UX design to become eligible to apply for entry-level jobs in the UX disciplines. Is that correct, Stratus?
Yeah, it's correct. And what's most important is that for hiring managers like me is that to see that people can do the job. And in the past, I've hired people even that they hadn't had formal training, but they have done a lot of courses, and then they had done a lot of case studies. I mean, and I could see that they could do the job. So, but what was lacking was that they didn't have any client experience. That was a problem. But still, what if somebody can convince you that you can do the job? That's what we're looking to see. And in this case, obviously, at the end of the day, it's going to be up to you how proactive you are and how hard you work. But you're going to get such a big boost by getting a client project, by getting the confidence of being trained by industry experts, and practicing all this method so much that those three things will give you and give the hiring managers the confidence that you know what you're doing, and they would not have to spoon feed you and hold your hand throughout every single thing, because that's what hiring managers are worried about. They want people who can drive things, that they know how to do the job, and this course will teach you how to do that. And I think that, yeah, definitely you would be in a very good place to apply for the job. Having said that, you need to put the effort in, and you need to, so it would not, like, different people who from the same course might be in different levels at the end of it, depending on how much effort they put, of course. So that's a given.
Thank you, Stratus. Okay, we're going to take the last couple of questions, and then we're going to start to wrap this up. Annalisa asks, I am a furniture designer with 5+ years of experience looking into changing my career. With this course alone, will I be able to get an entry-level job as a UX designer? Why not? Why not? Yeah.
Yes, you can. You would.
Okay. Yeah, we do have a lot of furniture designers and interior designers who've actually moved into the course, Annalisa, and we recently had a UX designer who was formerly a furniture designer come and do our product design course. So before she did the product design course, she was a UX designer, and before she became UX designer, she was doing interior designer. So the answer is definitely yes, because we've had a student just like you. Now, final question. A fan asks, what are recruiters looking for in a UX portfolio? I think you have kind of touched their stretches, but I think you can bring it home.
Well, they're going to be looking for what we're going to teach you in this course. We have a whole section of that in the course, so I don't want to be going into too much detail, but they will want to be looking at the methods and proof that you can actually do the work. So knowing the methods and also case studies for real clients is another big plus. So you're going to be getting both those things. So as I mentioned before, yeah, you're going to be looking for what this course is going to equip you with.
Okay, that's a great answer. Yes, Stratus has given you some tips earlier on in regards to getting your first UX job. I mean, it really is effort and, real life experience that helps you. Okay, well, that brings the Q&A section to the end. Thank you, Stratus, for taking some of those questions. Just before we start to bring this to a close, we just want to move on. Why, again, do you want to choose UX Academy? Okay, so one big point is 8 weeks, actually. I don't know why he says 6 weeks. There's a big typo. 8 weeks live lectures with interactive workshops. So each week there is a 2.5-hour lesson, which includes interaction with the students, the instructors, real life online workshops, and also you're going to get all of the training week on week. Now we've had, until this date, this year, since March, we've had 36 UX design students graduate from our beginners UX design course. You just saw Sam earlier on do her little presentation and give her perspective, which is fantastic. So it's one evening a week. So if you work full-time, you study full-time, no problem at all. This is right for you. This is pandemic proof. So we do have a lot of students who have switched careers. I mean, we're talking about people in completely different industries to people that have put their feet in the water in the UX design industries. I mean, you'd be surprised the stories that I could share in terms of the kind of students and the backgrounds that we've had. You will also graduate with a professional certificate, and you also get to graduate with a professional portfolio, and you will become job ready for entry levels, as we've discussed earlier on. You also have the opportunity to work in teams, build that real life working experience like Stratus talked about earlier on, which is essential for getting your first UX job. And then you have access to tutors. You've seen Stratus. You'll also see Julia, resources, unique insights and tips, CV, portfolio, career support, post-work experience. So after the course, you are able to come back to us, and we are able to give you even more work experience opportunities if you want to stack up your portfolio even more. How great is that? Huh? And then there's also further networking opportunities. We have our students meet up, outside the classes. We have events connected by Mobile UX London, such as UX Festival, where you can do, online and offline real life networking. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. I don't want to be here all day telling you about everything. And then Stratus also mentioned mentorship. So again, feel free to visit our website, myuxacademy.com/mentorship to learn more about that. Stratus went into that earlier on, but just to summarize, it consists of 30 minutes weekly meetings with a mentor. This will be an opportunity to address any obstacles that you have with any projects, and also to remove any blockers. This is also another opportunity to ask the instructors or your mentor any questions that you have regarding the course, the tools, UX life, and any kind of methodologies, and then get some good career advice. Why not? Okay, and just to remind you, there is a special workshop offer today. Use the code workshop12. This will have a discount applied on the deposit when you do secure your place, and then the rest of the discount will be applied after you make your second payment, which would be after the deposit. So once again, visit myuxacademy.com/enroll to get signed up, and we'll look forward to having you on the 21st of October. So the course is starting in just over 2 weeks. Okay, I'd just like to thank you all for spending your best part of the hour with us. Once again, Stratus, thank you for giving us some of your time and sharing some of your insights.
Awesome.
Great.
Cool.
So I'm going to leave you guys, as you can see in the screen, bonus material, How to Start a Career in UX Design by Miranda Green. If you want to get access to this, go on our website, myuxacademy.com, and then smash that UX Insights button, and then you'll be able to see the article on there. I've been Adrian Daniels, and we've had Stratus as well. Have an awesome, awesome day, and we look forward to seeing you on the course. Once again, the start date for the course is 21st October 2020. Okay, thank you very much, guys, and take care and stay safe, and we'll look forward to seeing you enroll on the course soon.
See you, everyone.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.